Coming up on the next episode of Zuzu All Grown Up.
Ending childhood poverty. It's a tall order, but what a beautiful realization it would be. One organization, Compassion International, is dedicated to making this tall order become a reality, one child at a time. It's a truly phenomenal concept brought to life every day by some very dedicated and inspired people. Find out all about this special story and ways you can help. That's next, right here on Zuzu, All Grown Up.
Look, Daddy, teacher says every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings.
You're now listening to Zuzu All Grown Up.
She's been featured in more than 20 films from the early days of film and television.
He is a psychotherapist and her loving husband.
Together, they are on a mission to brighten your day and your life.
It's a time to smile, a time to laugh, a time to expect more.
It's time to get inspired with your hosts, Karolyn Grimes and Dr. Chris Brunel.
It's time to meet Zuzu, all grown up.
Do you believe that life is wonderful in principle, but for some reason just isn't so consistently in practice? Every life will have its ups and downs. But have you ever thought that if there were only more people around you encouraging, uplifting, and even inspiring you, then life would be more fulfilling? If only people like George and Mary Bailey were in your inner circle, then life could truly be wonderful all the time? If so, we've got good news for you, because you can find such people on this podcast and at zuzunetwork.com. This podcast is the vision of Karolyn Grimes, Zuzu, and Dr. Chris Brunel, illustrating how the timeless message of It's a Wonderful Life can be and is applied to our modern lives and situations. Indeed, when you take that message to heart, your life will become immeasurably more wonderful. Visit us at zuzunetwork.com and listen to this podcast series to learn more about how. Now sit back, relax, and get ready to enjoy another episode of Zuzu, All Grown Up.
We have a very interesting interview today. He is Tim Glenn, Director of Global Public Relations for Compassion International, sponsoring a child from around the world living in poverty and offering medical care with the assistance of churches, businesses, and more.
Today's topic, releasing children from poverty in Jesus' name.
Get ready for miracles. Get ready for Zuzu. All Grown Up.
Tim Glenn, welcome to the show today. We're excited to hear more about your organization's work. Karolyn, over to you.
Well, I'm so excited to meet you. Tim Glenn, I've been reading about this organization and it's very, very impressive. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. Compassion International is a holistic child development organization, and that sounds like a lot, but really at the crux of what we do is we partner with churches in 29 countries. So we have over 8,500 church partners whose purpose in our partnership is to lift children up out of poverty, to give children opportunities through health interventions, education interventions, spiritual interventions, self-esteem and socio-emotional interventions, all of that just to lift children up out of extreme poverty.
And how do you go about finding these children around the world? Do you have an organization set up for that?
So much of our work is done through the local church in these 29 countries. And so we rely on that local church in that community to know who the families are who are in the most need, which children need the most interventions and most need. Because we're not an organization that sends Americans out to attack poverty in a country, but instead use the local church and those who live in the community, we find that we're much better equipped to address the needs and the problems of that particular community based on the local church's interventions. They're the ones who determine which children come into our program.
With your impact of serving over 2.3 million children, can you tell us about the original mission and how it got started?
Absolutely, I would love to. This ministry started in 1952. A man named Everett Swanson, who was a pastor, grew up in a small rural farm in America, was in Korea to preach to soldiers during the Korean War. During that time, he noticed children who were orphans of the war living on the streets, many of them dying of malnutrition or freezing to death overnight. And he said, man, there's got to be something that we can do to intervene and to save these children. And he started this ministry 1952, and it has grown now to 29 countries, 2.3 million children, and it really is looking at poverty and all the aspects of poverty and trying to address each one of those aspects.
You have 1.5 million medical interventions, 10.6 million family food packs, 7.6 million hygiene kits, and 16 million given to the disaster relief. 1.3 million letters written to children. I think that this inspires people to give of themselves. And do you work through churches, or how do you find your people to sponsor these children?
Yeah, we do that through a lot of different ways. We work with Christian artists and we present at Christian concerts, community events, also festivals. Our church partners in the United States and in our partner countries host what we call Compassion Sunday, where they present the ministry of compassion to their congregation and give an invitation for them to sponsor a child in one of our 29 countries. When people respond, as you pointed out, they get to write letters to their child and their child writes back. It's fantastic. It's amazing to see the relationship that can be built on opposite sides of the planet between two people who would have otherwise never have met, and the impact that that can have on a child or a youth growing up in extreme poverty. To know that somebody loves you and cares about you and is praying for you and is thinking about you in another country without having ever met you, it does a lot for self-esteem and self-worth. And we see that time and time again through those millions of letters that are passed through every year.
What is the difference between a program that provides adoption versus sponsorships?
Adoption is taking a child into your family to become a part of your family. And in a way, sponsorship is kind of like that. For example, if you were to sponsor a child in Tanzania, what your sponsorship would look like would be the opportunity to exchange letters, and you would be providing money on a monthly basis that goes to that local church, and that local church makes sure that that child has a meal when they attend the program. They get educational assistance. Do they need a school uniform? Do they need textbooks? Do they need vaccinations and health checkups? Do they need some socio-emotional development and interventions? They need regular hygiene checkups. They need to learn how to brush their teeth and take care of their bodies. They need to learn about the love of Christ, what God's plan is for their life, and to develop self-esteem and self-worth, and just to speak into that life. And then there's also job skill training. They can learn how to become mechanics or sewing or baking. We have a lot of kids who become pastors, who become community leaders. It's kind of like, if you look at it as a wagon wheel, that's the way I kind of like to describe it, is at the center is abject poverty, and at the rim is enough, and all the spokes represent different parts of your life. Do you have enough money? Do you have enough food, enough clean water, enough access to education? And our job is to get every kid in our program to enough.
Are these missionary efforts, or are these employed that go around and do this sort of thing?
Because we're partnering with the local church, we don't have staff in the United States who work in the country. We do have national offices in all 29 countries, and we hire locals, indigenous folks to communities into those national staffs, and then they work with those churches in the community throughout the country. And those churches have program directors and volunteers and teachers and mentors, who some of them are volunteers, some of them are staff members, all of them local to that community.
Once a person is interested in sponsoring a child, what happens after that?
So the first thing you would do is you would go to compassion.com and you would choose the child that you want to sponsor. And you can choose by country, by age. You can choose a boy or a girl. You can choose a child who has been waiting for a long time to get a sponsor. You can choose a child who may have some physical disabilities. Once you choose your child and you sign up to sponsor them, you can start writing letters right away. And those letters are translated for you through our program, through our office, and delivered directly to the local church. And when that child attends the program at the local church, they'll see the translated letter and they'll be able to read it themselves. And then they can write you back in their language, and it'll be translated for you back to your language when it arrives to you. So that's what you can expect. You can expect an interaction with the child. You'll see photos. You'll get a photo of your child. You'll get photos. If you send a gift, you have the ability to send gifts or birthday presents, Christmas gifts, things like that. And you can see pictures of them with the gifts that they received. My family just recently sent some money to the family of the child that we sponsor in El Salvador and got photos of a stove that the family was able to buy because they didn't have a way. They were cooking food over burned wood outside their house. And now they have a stove, just a simple little stove, but they can use it for cooking. Those are the kinds of impacts that you can expect and the kind of interaction that you can expect when you sponsor a child.
That would be a blessing, and you would certainly feel uplifted that you've been able to help someone in need like that. Do they ever have the opportunity to meet these children in person?
Yes, sometimes that happens. I'll tell you, we used to have a very robust trips and visits team that would take sponsors to the field to see the kids that they sponsor.
We'll join Karolyn and Chris in just a moment with more of Zuzu All Grown Up.
First, an important message.
Start your morning right with premium coffee roasts available at ZuzuNetwork.com and drink them in your Zuzu All Grown Up coffee mug. Also perfect for tea and hot chocolate.
Stay inspired throughout the day with the same gratitude journal used by Karolyn and Chris, and check out t-shirts, hats, books, Christmas keepsakes, and more at ZuzuNetwork.com/shop.
Join Zuzu's network today at ZuzuNetwork.com/join.
Karolyn is creating an international network of aspiring angels, everyday people who believe that they can help make the world a better place by making life better for even just one other person.
Let us know you want to earn your wings at ZuzuNetwork.com/join, and Karolyn and Chris will send you inspirational material to support you in your journey.
We're back with more Zuzu All Grown Up.
But during the pandemic, all travel was shut down and that team was pulled back and pulled into other roles. And so now we're trying to rebuild that team again and get trips and visits going once again. Probably going to be another year before we get those trips going. But once it happens, you register for a trip and you go with a group of sponsors to that community to meet your sponsored children at that particular church.
What does it cost to sponsor a child?
$43 a month in the United States to sponsor a child. And then there are things that you can add on to that if you want to add for special disaster relief or other things like that. Global food crisis is a huge problem right now. So if you want to provide extra food for the family, you can do that as well. But the base fee is $43 a month to sponsor a child. And that provides all of those interventions that I mentioned before.
It's really not very much.
No, it really isn't. Let me just add that you asked earlier, what can the sponsor expect? I think one thing that you may not anticipate, you will find out is when you sponsor a child, the joy that it brings to you. I think we all know that giving brings a certain kind of joy in our hearts, but giving to a person who has so very little, and you may never meet face to face, although you could. It's just a special kind of joy to know that you're making the difference in the trajectory of a child. We just got a study back from the Dominican Republic. We surveyed alumni from our program and found that over 70% of them graduated from college. 70%. Now that's a pretty significant statistic in the United States. We're talking about kids growing up in abject poverty, going to college because of the trajectory that the organization, the Compassion's ministry, and the local church had on their life and sending them on a path that they otherwise wouldn't have.
It's an opportunity for each and every one of us to make a difference. On a personal note, who brought you Compassion over 20 years ago?
Yes, it's been 20 years now. I will tell you, I used to be a television news anchor. I thought that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. When I was a kid, I knew I wanted to be a news anchor, and I went to college and I studied it. And I found after a few years in the industry that it just wasn't as fulfilling as I thought it would be. I needed to do something that was bigger than me. And so I left the industry. I left that career without any idea of what I was going to do. But I knew about this organization through a musician friend of mine. They reached out to me and said, "Hey, Brian talks really high of you. Why don't you come talk to us about this position we have?" And the rest is history. It's been 20 years now, and I believe so passionately in this organization. I hope I can spend the rest of my career here and continue making an impact for these children living in poverty.
I'm surprised you did a radical change.
I was an orphan. I lost both of my parents by the time I was 7. And I ended up in a children's home, and I saw firsthand the impact of poverty because I lived it. And I lived without a support system. I lived without parents to provide that kind of nurture and that guidance and direction for me. I really believe that God uses things that are intended to destroy us. He can use them for good. As scripture says, beauty from the ashes. And I had ashes in my childhood. My childhood was really rough, but God used that and has brought me full circle from being a child in need to supporting and caring for children in need. I think I was designed for this. I really believe that.
It sounds like you really have the heart for it and the history. How do you vet the potential sponsors to ensure that they're good people and they're committed to the program?
Anyone who wants to go visit a child in our program or visit one of our projects, our child development centers or our churches, we're going to do a background check on them. But anyone can sponsor a child. However, there are some caveats to that. If you're on a sex offender registry, you can't sponsor a child. We also make sure all of those letters are read to make sure that there's nothing inappropriate, anything that could harm the child or damage emotionally that would be inappropriate, age inappropriate for those children. So those are some of the processes that we use to make sure that we're protecting kids, which is our number one priority, obviously, to make sure that we're connecting the right people with the right children and youth.
What makes Compassion International unique over the other organizations that offer the same sponsorships?
Yeah, that's a great question. The way we talk about compassion is we talk about our 3 C's. And the first is that we're Christ-centered. We're a Christian organization, unapologetically, Christ-based organization. We teach the gospel. We partner with Christian churches who teach the gospel in their program. Secondly, we are child-focused. Everything we do is about protecting children, developing children, growing children. And then really the big distinctive is that we're church-driven. You can work through the government and get a lot done. We decided years and years ago that we were going to be based through the church. And what we found is the church is the one that knows the community, knows the families in need, knows how to address those needs. They can specifically single out each child and say, Johnny over here really needs this. Lucy over here really needs this. And this is what the church is going to provide to them. We're all about empowering the church to be the church in their community. Because it's not a one-size-fits-all. What a child needs in, Kenya is not the same that a child needs in Guatemala, which is not the same that a child needs in Bangladesh. And even children in Bangladesh, no 2 children need exactly the same thing there. So it really is trying to customize and personalize the program as much as possible to meet the needs of each specific child.
How many employees do you have?
That's a great question. I'll tell you, we have about 4,000 employees around the world, but we have over 100,000 volunteers working to feed and mentor and tutor and disciple and spend time with these kids. It's question earlier, every one of them is vetted. Anybody who is spending time with a child in our program, there are background checks, and we're making sure that they meet all the requirements that we have for child protection.
How does it make you feel as a person? Have you grown through your years of doing this service? And how do you apply it to your life as a Christian?
I don't know that I have any life-changing secrets. I will tell you this.
We'll join Karolyn and Chris in just a moment with more of Zuzu All Grown Up.
First, an important message.
To find out more about the organization featured in today's episode or a previous episode, and to learn more about how you can help, go to zuzunetwork.com/beanangel.
The impact of a meal goes well beyond feeding our bodies, because when people don't have to worry about where their next meal is coming from, they can truly thrive, like Marta.
And now we'll hear from our class valedictorian, who with our hard work never ceases to amaze us. Please welcome Marta Moreno.
And Alex.
Hey, Alex, how did the interview go?
I did it! I got the job! I can't believe it!
I knew it. Let's meet up later to celebrate.
And Diego.
Mom! I got first place at the science fair with my volcano project.
That's amazing, sweetie. Congratulations.
Because when people are fed, futures are nourished, and everyone deserves to live a full life. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/actnow. feedingamerica.org/actnow. A public service announcement brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Have you heard? Affordable healthcare is better than ever. And right now there are more carriers and plans to choose from. If you're between 18 and 64 years old with a household income of $25,000 or less, this message is for you. Right now, the government's Affordable Care Act is available for individual and family health coverage plans with little to no cost to you. Don't gamble your health. Call Health Care for All. 70% of callers qualify for a zero-cost health care coverage. See if you are one of them. Call now. Our agents are standing by to help you get the health insurance plan you and your family needs and deserves. If you're uninsured or struggling to afford your current health insurance, help is just a phone call away. This is not Medicaid or Medicare. This is the marketplace with the largest selection of healthcare plans from the Affordable Care Act. To find a plan that's right for you, call 800-788-2406. That's 800-788-2406.
A careless driver can change your life in an instant. Do you know what to do or who to call? If you've been injured in a motor vehicle accident and don't have an attorney, call Auto Accident Help Desk for a free consultation. We can answer all of your questions and estimate the potential value of your case. Call Auto Accident Help Desk and connect with an expert personal injury attorney.
Call 800-348-7312. 800-348-7312.
Don't worry how to handle your medical bills, lost wages, and pain. We will get you the money you deserve.
They got me way more than the insurance company offered.
The consultation is free, and you don't pay any legal fees unless we win or settle your case. Make the smart call if you've been injured in an auto accident. Call Auto Accident Help Desk for a free legal consultation.
Call 800-348-7312. 800-348-7312. 800-348-7312.
Auto Accident Help Desk.
Zuzu's book club features recommendations from Zuzu herself on books she loves and thinks you will love also. All of the books that the club reads, fiction and nonfiction, are inspirational and uplifting. Folks, this is a life-enhancing club to be part of. You can sign up for free at zuzunetwork.com/book club. That's zuzunetwork.com/book club.
This is Zuzu, all grown up.
We set ourselves out to do things that are bigger than us, that are beyond us. We find more about humanity, about the frailty of humanity, but we also find about how much we have in common. I've traveled to 19 of the countries that we work in, and I can tell you kids are the same in every single country. They want to play, they want to laugh, they want to have somebody believe in them. They want to have somebody encourage them. They want to hug every once in a while. When you realize just how alike we all are and how alike children all around the world are, it makes the world a much smaller place, I think. Anytime you can do something beyond yourself, I think you make the world smaller. And that's what I believe we're called to do. As a believer, as a Christian, I'm called to care for the poor, for the needy, for the orphan, for the widow. And this is just my small little piece of responding to that calling. I'm proud to be part of this organization for 20 years and proud of the work that we do.
Do any of your children follow in your footsteps?
Yeah, I have two boys, a 17-year-old and a 15-year-old, and they're very much involved. We write letters as a family to our sponsored children, and we pray for them every night at dinner. The names of our children and their families are on our lips at dinner time. And so my kids have grown up knowing that there are other kids around the world who don't have everything that they have, don't have life as good as they have it, also understand the power of praying for other people around the world.
I just wonder if our listeners today want to contact you for more information about sponsoring a child. How do they reach you?
So our 1-800 number is 1-800-336-7676. 1-800-336-7676. You can also just go to compassion.com and read anything you want to about the website, about the organization, learn about us, learn what we do, find a child to sponsor. There are a lot of FAQs on the website that tell you more details about what it means to sponsor. And my name is right there too in the press center, so you can find me and see what it is that I do.
We need more people like you, that's for sure. I was an orphan too. I wasn't exactly poor, but I was an orphan, and I know what it's like to kind of be bereft and not know which way to go. And it's nice to have someone that cares about you. I have to admire you guys for doing that. It's really an incredible feat for you.
My little boy in El Salvador draws us pictures all the time, so we get his artwork, and it's on our fridge. And for the young lady that we sponsor in the Philippines, we sponsored her since she was 6, and she's older now. But her family's living in an apartment. She lived in a house that had 3 sides were sheets of tin, and the 4th side was an old billboard, and that was their wall. And then they had a tin roof with a tire on top to keep it from blowing off. and a drainage ditch running across the front door. This is how she lived when we first met her. Now they've got an apartment and a TV and a sofa and a stove and a refrigerator, and they're doing so much better because when you sponsor a child, you don't just impact that child's life, you impact that family as well. And it just lifts the entire family up. And when families are lifted up, communities are lifted up. And all of that from $43 a month. Come on, that's a pretty powerful return on investment.
I hope some of our listeners will be encouraged to get a hold of your organization, and maybe they can bring one of those children into their hearts by supporting them.
That would be fantastic. Thank you, Karolyn, so much for your time today. I really appreciate you just taking the time to have a chat with me.
My pleasure. Thank you for being on my show, and best wishes for the future. And remember, every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings.
Well, this has been a very touching and inspiring interview. A big thank you to Tim Glenn of Compassion International for joining us today. Karolyn, thank you as always. We hope you enjoyed today's special episode and consider supporting this worthwhile cause. You can go to www.compassion.com. That's www.compassion.com. or at our website to learn more. You can sponsor a child, a mother and child, help get clean drinking water for children, or help them further their education through simple steps outlined on the site that you can follow today. You've been listening to Zuzu, all grown up. Stay tuned. I'll be right back with a final thought.
Do you know someone who is earning their wings? Someone practicing kindness and service to others? Perhaps an organization or initiative helping make the world we live in a kinder, sweeter place.
Or maybe you've witnessed the miraculous, the divine, the magnificent in some way in your life, and you'd like to share it with others. Go to zuzunetwork.com/tellmystory and let us know more.
You may end up being featured on an upcoming episode of Zuzu All Grown Up. That's zuzunetwork.com/tellmystory. Now here's Seth Kennedy with today's parting thoughts.
Belief has been front and center at the heart of today's interviewee. Now I'll tell you what I believe. I believe the children are our future. Yes, just like the words of the song, it takes a village, and each and every one of us is a member of that village. And it's a global village too. You do your part, and I'll do mine, and our neighbors will do theirs, and the world can be a better place. But the future is in the hands of the children, so let's not let them down. Like the good folks at Compassion International, let's do whatever we can do to help the little ones of this world, especially those who don't have the experience growing up that we may have been blessed with, or that we had wished for. The fate of the world depends on it. Their smiles and their childhood depend on it. And they, the children, well, they depend upon you doing your part. I'm Seth Kennedy, a member of the village. You've been listening to another member of the village, Zuzu, all grown up.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Zuzu All Grown Up.
We hope you've been inspired to live your most wonderful life now and to help those around you do the same.
Remember, no matter what you're going through, no matter who you are, there are people who care about you, and your life makes a difference.
It is a wonderful life.
Check out zuzunetwork.com for more on today's and other episodes, including transcripts and merchandise you won't want to be without.
New episodes are coming soon.
For transcripts of today's broadcast, go to zuzunetwork.com/transcripts.
Watch a video clip of today's episode at www.instagram.com/Zuzu, all grown up. That's www.instagram.com/Zuzu, all grown up. Then click on the Reels tab from the top of the center of the page. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at www.instagram.com/Zuzu, all grown up. That's www.instagram.com/Zuzu, all grown up. Catch up on past episodes and discover currently premiering and upcoming episodes as well, and get helpful links and exclusive clips from our recordings. That's www.instagram.com/Zuzu, all grown up.
Zuzu All Grown Up with your hosts Karolyn Grimes and Dr. Chris Brunel.
Announcer and guide Seth Kennedy.
Executive producer Kevin R. Stillmock.
Coordinating producer Holly Ann Way.
Technical producer Stella Joelle.
Managing producer Karina Filatova. A Wonderful Land production.
In collaboration with Radio Wonderful.